presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Darrell Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
Entitled Establishing the Muslim Home. And being that this is the month of Ramadan, this is something that we've been working on. You want to make your home a spiritual retreat. Your home should be a place of comfort for you, for your family, a place of security for you and your family. The home should not be a place where the children don't feel safe. It should not be a place where you as a woman are not comfortable. A man should not hate the idea of coming home, so we have to work on making our homes our spiritual abodes. And that's what this class is all about. And this is taken from the book written by Brother Abdullah Kirk, who is one of my students. This is part of the trilogy. It's called The Sacred Abode, which speaks about the home. The first of the trilogy was Sacred Bonds, which speaks about marriage in Islam. So tonight we're going to be speaking about mental health. And this goes hand in hand with what I spoke about earlier today about showing gratitude towards Allah. Again, one of the signs that you're not a person who is gracious of Allah is the fact that you might suffer. Now, there are some people who have medical problems. I'm not talking about those of you who have mental problems. But if you have no mental issues, but you're a person that's always thinking negative about things, or you're a person that has no hope, you need to look at how you connect with Allah. We have to have that connection with Allah, and that's what we've been working on all Ramadan. And this week we're focusing in on showing gratitude towards Allah, counting the blessings, looking at the blessings that Allah has given us. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. And for those of you who have not yet purchased the book, this is a copy of the book. It's called The Sacred Abode. And this book can be purchased just like the others on Amazon. It's only $11 or something like that. And we're going to be speaking about mental health within the home. We're going to be covering tonight pages 14 through 17 of the book. So those of you who have the book, if you'd like to take it out, open up to page 14. We'll begin there. The mental health of the family. Okay, let me share. All right. Mental health and emotional well-being are becoming increasingly critical issues with our ummah. I mean, you look at the average Muslim family, there's at least one person who suffers with mental health or emotional well-being issues. And we're living in the days of the last hour, as the prophet prophesies, where he said that many things will contribute to this. Number one, the connection with Allah will be lost. Even though there will be many people who call themselves Muslims and claim to believe La ilaha illallah, they won't understand what they're saying. They won't understand the meaning of La ilaha illallah. And we know that's true. Most Muslims, I have to remind them that when you declare La ilaha illallah, you're declaring allegiance to Allah, allegiance to the Prophet, allegiance to the religion of Islam, and you're also declaring to distance yourself from any ideology or people that go against it. No longer is your allegiance to the black race. No longer is your allegiance to the white race. No longer is your allegiance to anything but Allah and his prophet and his religion. So because we fail to understand that and submit to that, this is why we have a lot of mental issues. Okay? This is why we can't handle anxiety. This is why we hear what's happening in the world and it freaks us out. We panic. We go crazy. Whenever we deviate away from the true meaning and practice of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, there will be repercussions, and these are they. So, some mental health issues can be worse than others. Many of us may suffer with bipolar disorder. Many of us will suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, eating disorders, disruptive behavior, and dissociative disorders. And some of us even have neurodevelopmental disorders. And I want you guys to understand, if you do fall in those on that spectrum of being diagnosed as bipolar or PTS or schizo or eating disorders or any of these ones I mentioned, go seek medical attention. There is no conspiracy. I'm sorry. There is no conspiracy. Nobody's going to be planting chips in you or any of this nonsense. Okay? Allah tells us, the Prophet Muhammad told us that sickness, Allah says in the Quran, sickness and disease comes from him. But he never sends a sickness. He never sends a disease without sending a treatment. So take the treatment and perhaps Allah will send you a cure. That's from the Quran. And then we have this authentic hadith where the Prophet said there is no disease that Allah has created that he has not also created its treatment. So for those of you who think that going to a doctor and taking medicine is bad, no, it's not. That's your personal jinn telling you that. Your personal jinn is the one trying to get you to think that it's a conspiracy. Your personal jinn, remember, his job is to make you kill yourself. His job is to make you destroy yourself. Your jinn knows that if you are diagnosed with a sickness like bipolarism or schizo or eating disorders, your jinn knows that there's a treatment, that Allah has manifested to us the treatment. He doesn't want you to get it. He wants you to die so that the angels will say to you, why did you kill yourself? Because that's all it is suicide. And that's a sin of disbelief. Ain't no coming back from that. You're going to burn, baby, burn throughout eternity. So if you suffer with mental health concerns like this, go seek medical attention because Allah has sent the treatment for these type of mental illnesses. But on the other hand, some of us suffer with mental illnesses, sadness. We just are people that always think the worst, and we're just always sad, and we're pessimistic. This type of stuff, results from your connection to Allah not being strong. Okay, your Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. We have a problem accepting the lordship of Allah. Okay, so we have to understand, like I was saying earlier, we're living in the days where everybody thinks they know this religion. Most Muslims are self-taught. The scholars of the religion are few, and they don't waste their time on just anybody. The true scholars of the religion are going to single out people who they know are devoted to Allah, who can carry on the knowledge that they inherited. The true scholars are not going to waste their time on people who are argumentative. They're not going to waste their time on men and women who have no good character. So just because you sitting there attending a class does not mean that that person that's teaching you is bona fide and qualified. Who did he learn from? Okay. And I ain't talking about some online university. I'm talking about sitting in the company of the true bona fide scholars. Most people have not done that. Most people are self-taught. Most people are twisted. Okay? So we have to seek a thorough understanding of the Quran and Sunnah, because if we thoroughly understood it, then we would know that sickness comes from Allah, not from man. We would know that there's a treatment for everything, and we would take the medicine. We wouldn't try to replace cancer treatment with herbs. If herbs cured cancer, there would be no cancer on earth. We would go get the radiation treatment. Okay? So I want you guys to ponder that Allah is in control. Nothing good happens and nothing bad happens to any of us unless Allah wills it. The believers understand that, and they submit to that, and they take the precautions that Allah has told us to take, such as seeking medical attention when they're sick. For those of you who don't know, the first mosque that the Prophet built in Medina, he also had a hospital attached to it. Whenever somebody got sick, the Prophet would send them to the hospital to be treated by the physician. Many of the companions, when they migrated to Mecca, from Mecca to Medina, they became sick with the flu. They became sick with viruses because the climate is so different. The Prophet didn't tell them to eat grass. He had them taken to the hospital that was attached to the mosque, and they were tended to by the doctor and the nurses there, and they gave them whatever medicines were available. We have to be like those companions and submit and fall back on what our belief in Allah is. He's in control. Remember, Allah tells us, in the remembrance of Allah, do the hearts find rest. Why is it that the Muslims today are so emotionally out of it? Our hearts do not find rest in the remembrance of Allah. We don't know about Allah. We don't know that Allah is in control. We don't know that the war came from Allah and he sent it for 4 reasons. Allah told us he sends war for 4 reasons. We don't know that, and we don't know the reasons. Okay, we think that people picking on us. We think that, oh, we're privileged and they just picking on me. No, you deserve it. Allah says nothing is going to happen to you unless you brought it on yourself. So again, in the remembrance of Allah, do the hearts find rest. So this verse here underscores the connection between our spiritual relationship with Allah and our emotional reactions. This verse encourages us to seek peace in Allah during times of distress. Okay, turn to him for help. Turn to him through regular prayer, through regular remembrance. Talk to Allah. This verse tells us to do that, not to fall and become emotionally deranged, like so many Muslims have done. And again, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our example. There is no one on planet Earth today, not the people of Gaza or Africa or anywhere else, who's going through more trials, more hardship, more tests than the Prophet Muhammad did. But despite all that Allah put him through, he maintained the best character, the best resilience, and the best empathy. He did not give in to his emotions like Muslims today are. He didn't become angry to the point where he transgressed the limits of Allah. He didn't become sympathetic to the point where he transgressed and pitied people and transgressed the limits of Allah. He was able to maintain his composure in good times and bad. And his compassion was there in good times and bad. Of course, none of us can be like him because he was better than us. His jinn was Muslim, by the way. But still, we can try. We can try to emulate his reactions. We can try to emulate how he reacted in times of hardships. And in turn, that will make us better people. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, the strong man is not the man who can wrestle a person and take him to the ground. The strong man is the one who is able to control himself when he's angry. The strong man is the one when he sees Allah sending his wrath. He doesn't get angry and start behaving like the non-Muslims and protesting Allah's decree and boycotting and thinking that the kafir can change the situation. The believer doesn't put the power in man's hand and transgress Allah's limits and start voting in elections when that's haram for us to do, to vote for kafirs. Instead, the strong man is the one who controls that emotions and knows that Allah is in control and knows that Allah tells us when you live to see his punishment, check yourself, fall back on La ilaha illallah. So the believer will try to change the condition of himself to that which is pleasing to Allah in hopes of Allah changing the condition of us all. That's what the Prophet taught us. That's how the companions behaved. They were in warfare from the time they converted to Islam until their deaths. But you never saw them protesting. You never saw them boycotting. You never saw them participating in elections. You never saw them disobeying Allah and cursing each other. You saw them praying. You saw them making dua. You saw them standing stoic together as one, calling upon Allah and making sure that their taqwa Allah was intact. We need to learn from them. So this hadith stresses the importance of self-awareness and restraint in our emotions. The Prophet Muhammad taught us that when we express our emotions, to do it constructively, which will better our relationship with Allah. He didn't tell us to act and behave like the people around us. And by the way, where did protesting and demonstrating come from? The Romans. Don't y'all know that democracy was created by the Greeks and the Romans? And the Prophet's time, that's what they did. They protested. The Romans protested. The Romans demonstrated. The Romans boycotted. But the Prophet told the Muslims to stay away from that trash. He said, don't get involved in their politics. When they protested against the Caesar, when they assassinated their leaders, the Prophet told the companions, don't get involved in their politics. That's the way that they behave. That's the way the non-believers behave, because they don't believe in Allah. Just make sure that we learn and don't make the mistakes they made. What would the Prophet say if he were living today and saw how you Muslims around the world are reacting to Allah's decree about this war? Like it's the end of the world, which it is, the beginning of the end. But instead of you doing what the Prophet said do, which is fall back on Tawheed, you people have become like the non-believers. You become emotionally distraught. So again, guys, as Muslims, as we go about creating and establishing the Muslim home, we have to take a good hard look at the mental health within the family. If you have family members who need medical assistance because of their suffering with bipolarism or something, seek medical attention for them. But for the other families that members that you see who are struggling, dealing with the trials of life, dealing with reality, you have to call them back to Allah and call them back to that, reestablish that connection with Allah, to Allah with them. Remember, remind them to be grateful. Remind them to stop focusing on the negativity. There's a lot of negativity in the world. But try to get them to focus on the positivity that's in their lives. Because again, as Allah says, if you are grateful, then I will surely increase you in blessings. Okay? Remind the members of your family that Allah doesn't place a burden on anyone that's too great to bear. For those people that live in a part of the world where Allah is sending the war, they can handle it. They're used to it. If they couldn't handle it, Allah wouldn't send it. But look at what He sent to us. We're having a hard time lowering our gaze. We're having a hard time holding on to Islam because the people around us smoke drugs. The people over there in Gaza, the people in Africa, they ain't got a problem saying no to drugs. They ain't got a problem lowering their gaze. But it's a problem for us. Okay? So work on your situation better and strengthen your relationship with Allah. And look at the good that Allah has sent to you. Does everybody understand that? And also, you want the members in your family to engage with the community around you, the good Muslims around you. Okay? And you want your family members, especially during this third week of Ramadan, to give in charity. Because again, that softens the heart. If the heart is going through the sicknesses of loneliness, depression, giving in charity helps to soften it. Giving in charity helps to put hope in your heart. So try to engage with the community through actions of charity and volunteerism and social interactions such as that. Okay? Remember, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the believers in their mutual kindness, compassion, and sympathy are like one body. So that's how I suggest that you deal with the family members that are going through a hard time, accepting the reality of the world, who don't have mental issues. Try to get them to focus in on the good things in their life. Remind them that Allah is just, that Allah puts no burden on anyone that he or she cannot bear. Them people over there, they can handle it. They can't handle what we going through. Okay, make dua for them. Make dua for them and make dua for yourself. Asking Allah to give you the ability to handle your trials and to not transgress the limits within yourself. All right.